You're listening to Supervision with a Vision, where we discuss all things supervision. I'm your host, Sarah, professional counselor, marriage and family therapist, play therapist, eating disorder specialist, and cookie lover, with my co-host, Heather, marriage and family therapist, certified Together in Texas counselor, a Texas transplant from California, and outdoor adventurer. Hi, welcome to Supervision with a Vision. Today, Heather and I are talking about gaslighting. We're talking about self-gaslighting, to be specific. This week we read, What is Self-Gaslighting? Published in Psychology Today, 2021. Heather, if gaslighting leads to self-gaslighting, how do you think that happens for counselors and supervisors?
I think that actually, as of today, was the first time I heard the term self-gaslighting. Could have turned differently, but I think how it happens is that something goes astray in your own thought process, right? So you start doubting. So you start thinking like, is that the truth? Is that real? Was I on the right spot?
So something leaves just enough room for self-doubt.
Right. Just a tiny little, we're talking just one little hairline of a story a client tells you. Maybe as a supervisee, it's like not, you're guessing or you're not sure if you're making progress with a client and you're bringing that to supervision. And I think even as like supervisors, we can sometimes doubt our own, did we take that right intervention? Did we do the right thing?
I think for me, it happens in supervision if I've asked somebody to do something, asked them to reflect on something, and then it feels like they didn't follow through.
Oh, yeah. It's a telltale sign.
Right.
Yeah.
So then I start doubting, what if they never follow through on any of the things I'm asking them to do?
Right. Then where am I really going with it?
Yeah.
What am I really doing?
I'm thinking, it's been a while now. Talking through a situation, my supervisee and I decided they needed to make an abuse call.
Okay.
And we talked about how, and we talked about what to do and how to document it. And the next week I said, okay, how did that go? I know you're worried about it. A lot of hemming and hawing. They didn't do it.
Oy.
And I think I responded first to that it still needed to be done.
Right.
But later I really started thinking, and it definitely impacted our relationship. What if they're never doing the things I'm asking them to do?
Right.
Or what if they're not doing it the way that I would expect them to do it?
Right. And so that line of thinking, that's a great example, because then that leads to kind of some self-sabotage that we do to ourselves by not we just start doubting that, what if she never does this? And what if I didn't say the right thing? What if we didn't do this approach the right way?
Right. What if I wasn't clear enough?
Right.
What if I wasn't specific enough? I also thought of another example a couple of years ago, teaching a practicum internship section. I had a student that had a client, her full experience in school, so about almost full 2 years. And just right before she was about to graduate, she was working with this same person. And the person came to her seeking counseling for having just been diagnosed with cancer and wanting to work on some relationship issues as a result of the new diagnosis.
Right.
And so they'd done great work. She was really proud of it. Felt like a lot of progress was made. And she said about 2 weeks before she wrapped up, they'd started talking about ending. And the client said, I have to tell you something. I don't have cancer. And she got so excited.
Right.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. That's amazing.
Wonderful.
So when did you go to the doctor? And the client said, no, I never had cancer. And it just shook her. It just rocked everything she thought she knew. And it did turn into, she doubted everything he had ever said, but then she started doubting herself and all of the things that she'd done in sessions.
Of course.
And then she started re-examining all of her other clients and wondering, did I mess up there? What if maybe they're lying to me also?
Right. There are just big ramifications of just one little small thing in a session with the client.
So of course we processed that a lot, but it really did affect how she saw that relationship, but how she saw herself.
Right. When we take a relationship that we develop in counseling, whether it is with a client or with a supervisee, we trust that those things are truth. Because it wouldn't benefit our client or our supervisee to not be truthful.
Yeah.
That doesn't benefit it.
I don't think I think about it that way.
I don't always think that, but I think it's a generalization of like,
Oh.
for the most part, people are coming and telling you a story about something that has happened in their world from their perspective.
I think that's how I look at it, from their perspective. I
Right.
think they're coming to me with their version of the truth,
Correct.
or at as much of the truth as they can handle,
Right.
or their perspective. And so I think, even though maybe that's a small difference, but it makes me think it's their perspective. So if I talk to somebody else in their home, I'd probably get a different perspective. And it doesn't mean one's wrong or right, but different.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's my loophole that I make myself feel better with, that. Then if I don't get the exact whole story or the full truth, I'm not hurt by it or upset by it. What about, I mean, you see lots of teenagers.
Right. For sure, they're not telling me the full truth.
Right.
100% sure.
Yeah. I see a lot of teenagers where we will build a good working relationship, and then they will in some way want to emphasize or make sure I know that mom and dad don't act like this at home.
Oh, yes.
They act like this when they're here with you in the session.
Oh, yes.
And I'll tell them, oh, I know. I mean, you didn't come here in your pajamas. You put on clothes and you brushed your hair and you wore shoes, and that everybody does that. And so everybody puts on something when they come here. So I get their perspective or their truth in the moment.
Right. I think when we have those moments where we know, I mean, sometimes, especially with teenagers, we can see when maybe some falsehoods have woven into the story, or you start getting bits and pieces of the story, and we as adults go, oh, it's probably not how that went, but we're able to walk them through their reality, what they experience. But it can, if you have somebody that intentionally leads you down the wrong way, right? Like an intentional falsehood to get you to believe a narrative that they know they're telling something wrong, it can make you doubt whether you were effective or not. Because why can't I help this kiddo achieve this next thing? Or why can't I help my supervisee work with these clients when everything I'm saying is falling flat?
Well, Heather, the next step in this would be that if you are being gaslit, then you would start to doubt and self-gaslight, and that self-gaslighting leads to examining and questioning everything.
Right.
So my student that had the client that said he had cancer and then said he didn't have cancer, she even while we were processing this in the couple of weeks before she wrapped up school, went from questioning herself and questioning that relationship to questioning if that person could tell me a lie
for 2 years.
For 2 years, and as close as she thought that they related to each other, then what if lots of other things are not true? And she really did. She said she started thinking, like, she went to, maybe like the grocery store and questioned what was happening at the grocery store was honest or not. Did they have her pay the right amount or not? Maybe they lied.
Right. Maybe got into some deeper, like not trusting the world around you. Not just your own self. But
so do you think that could happen to you as a supervisor or a counselor, or have you experienced that happening to anyone?
I actually have had a supervisee before that this was definitely happening for them. They were working in a clinic where a lot of the clients they saw were the same type of client. And so a lot of people that came in had the same presenting issues, the same presenting things, and they were really struggling. It was not their favorite place to be. They were in a job to get hours, those kind of scenarios, but they weren't successful with the first couple of clients that they were seeing under my supervision. And so we talked about some different things to do. Then they started realizing that one of the main features of these clients, characteristics was going to be to lie. Like these are going to be things that you're going to face all the time. And so instead of finding ways to like argue the lie, like accepting that reality is their reality and being able to pull yourself out of it, because he was very frustrated that he wasn't effective and doubting all sorts of things. Well, I just can't see this kind of client. I can never see the client that has this diagnosis. I was like, well,
I can see that.
I'm pretty sure you can. You just haven't had the experience yet. To see that.
I mean, think about any client that's ever court ordered.
Right. They don't want to be there.
Not all of them, but lots of clients in substance treatment.
Right.
Eating disorder treatment. It was so likely that they would minimize or
absolutely
cover up or.
Well, and a lot of times, especially in a court-ordered situation, the person's doing it for a different reason than just there. They don't necessarily want to do anything different or be better.
Well, and we're talking about court-ordered clients, but I mean, how many of our teenage clients
are there under arrest?
Right. So we probably could find some
Right.
similarities in lots of different clients. Yeah, I think I feel that if you work in that world, one of those settings where lots of your clients are in some way trying to get you to see something different.
Right.
I mean, we're describing gaslighting, but
Right.
I think you could leave feeling like lots of the world is like that.
Right.
That if you spend all day long with substance abuse clients who are trying to convince you to sign their piece of paper so they
Absolutely.
don't break parole or something, or
Right.
that you might feel like when you leave work, people are still doing that.
Of course. And I think it's easy and under times I know for myself personally, when I have a higher stress load or a more intense, what I call like a clinical caseload's heavier or lots of clients that have more intense issues, it's really easy to walk away going, wow, like my whole world is enveloped in some of these crazy thoughts, these crazy patterns.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's talk about what's the solution to this. If we are being gaslit, then we start self gaslighting, and then we see that impacting not just work or not just us, but bigger parts of our world. How do we stop that? In this article, it talks about the way to stop gaslighting is to look back and change your perspective on the past.
Right. I think we have to learn from our experiences with our supervisees, with our clients, to learn about ourselves, about how we interact, and how much of that are we taking personally into our own, like how much of what we're learning along the way are we holding on to?
When I think of this, I think about, again, my client whose client didn't have cancer, or
Right.
my student whose client
Right.
didn't have cancer, or other times where I've felt like this. And I think for me, I wonder if this is the same thing as the article is describing. It helps me to go back and reframe things.
Right.
So, like the student who was so devastated by their client not having cancer,
Right.
what we talked about was that client came to you with cancer and relationship issues, and largely their relationship issues were different,
Right.
better.
Right. You improved some skills. Maybe this fact was not the truth, but these skills did improve along the
Well,
way.
and part of the fact was they did have relationship issues.
Right.
So they gave you a piece of the truth, or their version of the truth. So it wasn't totally false.
Right.
And you were useful as a counselor because you helped make these changes.
Right.
So I think I do that to myself too. That if I had a supervisee who I felt like was not doing the things I asked them to do, that I probably would go back and look at the past and do some reframing for myself and think, well, but they do this every week.
Right.
Or this is something that happens very consistently and I'm confident that they take care of that. And it maybe helps me have perspective about the certain situations where I do feel like I'm being gaslit.
Right. Where you're kind of aware that like there's more to the story or there's more to.
Yeah. I mean, when I had the supervisee that didn't want to report, I did that for myself. And then we went back and had a conversation about why they were uncomfortable reporting.
Right.
That it seems like you're doing other things that I asked you to do. You didn't do this thing.
And there's a big thing.
What's happening?
Right. What's really going on?
Mm-hmm. What about you? How else do you see if the solution maybe to gaslighting is to go back and revisit the past? How do you do that?
I think for myself, I think it falls into the kind of client I will take upon like first contact. If I am not feeling confident about certain things, then I won't take that client. I will also find myself like coaching and supervision a little bit about knowing how to build those skills, like looking back and going, what did I do great about this? Even if this fell through or this client didn't stay your client or whatever, really helping my supervisees see that like, that you gained knowledge, you yourself gained experience or knowledge from the situation, that it doesn't always have to be about what the client presents with or what they bring in the door.
I like that. I know we've talked about that. I like to do that, revisit and think what went really well and do you feel good about?
Right.
What in this scenario did you learn from, or
Right.
how are you different? So it's not just always about the growth of somebody that you're interacting with, but that we can all grow from new situations. And
Absolutely.
that might be the benefit, or that might be the resounding
overall effect.
the takeaway.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks today for listening to Supervision with a Vision. You've been listening to Supervision with a Vision. Head on over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Therapy Academy to join the conversation and get show notes. We'll be back next week with more Supervision with a Vision.